One of the first things that stood out to me is that just fundamentally, flat earthers were never actually interested in engaging in like real meaningful discussion. They just immediately jump past that to making claims about motives and intentions. They could never be wrong. It's always lying.
Men lie. Right. Women lie. People lie. But we live in a world of liars. They're lying about resources. This is the most important lie. You can win 3 Bitcoins from me for 1 globe proof.
Correct.
Men lie.
You try to flat smack with flat earth on its ass. Won't check your claims to the truth. You bring shame.
Yeah, the couple debates I was in early on was just terrible, because basically I was going up against people who had an entirety of science behind them. And, you know, that's a difficult debate to win. It took me a while until I got comfortable in kind of my beliefs to be able to debate. But there were still things that I wouldn't have been able to answer that, you know, I was just really happy that they never brought up, for example. But then what I ultimately got to the point is I saw the debates as being unproductive, because it would just be, you're talking over me, no, you're talking over me, no, you're talking over me. So that's why I created my own debate platform and called it Debatism. And then there was rules about, you know, basically there'd be a clock to keep people on the clock so that there wouldn't be talking over. But it ended up being basically the same thing. I got to witness what happens during a debate, because I was watching people, and when they weren't talking, they were actually getting ready to talk, right? So they're not listening to the other person. They're just preparing their next statement. And you could totally see it as a moderator. You're like, this guy's talking, makes a good point or something, and then the other guy picks up on something totally different and starts talking about something, because you could watch him. He was getting ready to say that. And then the other guy is now getting ready to say what he's going to say next. So you don't actually even have any good dialogue in these debates. So I don't know the answer to it. They're not getting any better.
Yeah, like, interestingly enough, this is something that's, like, I think really common all over the place, whether it's these debates, whether it's like politics, is you end up with something that, if you're in the middle trying to look, you know, at things unbiased, it appears as if both sides are doing the same thing. Correct. And you would assume for the same reasons. And I think to some extent, very often, most of the debates end up devolving into just talking over each other and mockery. But I think now, at least, you probably have some more of the perspective of, I think, really where one of the first things that stood out to me when I was paying attention to the flat earth stuff is that just fundamentally, flat earthers were never actually interested in engaging in like real meaningful discussion. And so they never asked clarifying questions. They never asked questions about, like, where do you believe, or can you explain that? They never are interested in engaging with hypotheticals, right? Like, to me, that's something that demonstrates that you're acting in good faith, where it's like, okay, let's say the earth is flat. I'll take that for granted. What would this look like? What would that look like? What would you expect to see? They never are willing to say, like, okay, let's just say gravity is real. Let's explain how this might work. You know, they'll never grant anything, even for the sake of discussion. They just immediately jump past that to making claims about motives and intentions. You know,
that would be the case if
everybody's instantly lying. They could never be wrong. It's always lying.
Correct. That's what I was saying about me, right? Because if they've already come to the conclusion the earth is flat. So it's not a intellectual growth campaign, right? Or whatever you want to call it. They're not actually trying to, they think they have the truth. Now, let me be honest. So does the globe earth, right? So what I tell people now is I say, yes, both sides are guilty of confirmation bias. Both sides are guilty of being assholes. However, the globe side is right. So you can actually get away with certain things in life if you're right. You can get away with confirmation bias. You can get away with cherry picking. You can get away with all these things because you're right. And so it's hard to push something on them. But the flat earth side is being assholes and being, like you said, wanting to talk motive, wanting to not talk about experiments. I mean, think about it. They're at a point now where they say there is no flat earth map. They don't have a flat earth model. They don't make claims, but they think they can be in debates. What is that? A debate is making claims. A debate is defending your model. It is defending your map. So to think that there's a group of people who think you don't need any of that and you can still debate, it just doesn't make sense to me anymore. It's it's a lack of knowing your place in a discussion, right? So like flat earth should realize that they have no business in the same conversation as the globe earth. And it's just difficult for them to realize that. And it's mostly because, the globe earth community gives them the opportunity, puts them on stage, brings them up for debates. So it makes it seem like there's a discussion there. But I don't think the globe earth community even really believes it. They just are basically messing with people they think are dumb. That's what they're doing. They're just trying to make a mockery of people that they think are dumb. They, like you said, that the flat earth isn't really interested in the conversation. Neither is the globe. The globe's not asking questions like, how would this work? Or how they're not asking it to see if the earth can be flat. And I get why now, but they're just kind of playing games.
Yeah. So. And I think here's, I think the distinction that I would make is that one is like a presupposition, whereas the other is a reaction. I think the flat earthers just assume from the beginning, the opposite side are brainwashed sheep, they're liars, or they're shills. So they aren't going to engage seriously or take it seriously. I think if you watch my video, you will see a lot of examples, and I didn't cut out any examples of the flat earth that would have been like examples where they were engaging in good faith. It was entirely non-existent. So I think that the globers attempt to engage in good faith and then instantly realize it's completely futile, and then they just realize, okay, I'm just going to make a mockery of it because that's the only way that I can actually engage, right? And honestly, I think if you look at MC Toon's content over time, you can see that in real time over the years. He was way more patient, level-headed years ago because he hadn't been beaten over the head so many times with, it's the whole the pigeon knocking the chess pieces over and shitting on the board.
Yeah.
At some point you just sit down and you go, these guys aren't going to engage. Let's just make a joke of it.
Oh, I've already gotten to that point, and it took me like a month. So I gave Will Duffy credit. I gave McToon credit because they did it over a course of, it took Will Duffy like 6 months until he started to act like that. And it took me a month because you're really just talking to the wall. I think that they did, what Flat Earth does a great job of, as soon as somebody starts speaking out about it, they just block them. And I don't think from a standpoint of where we are, it's hard to recognize that. You don't see that, right? You don't see when somebody blocks you. So you make a video and you think the Flat Earthers are seeing it, or you make but they're not, because they've already blocked you. So they don't see anything that you do. They don't see anything I do anymore. And so it doesn't matter how many times I say good information or things that should help them. They're just not listening anymore. And that's the way that they remain there. And it's actually encouraged by the content producers, right? That I even saw text messages going around saying, hey, we're all blocking Jaron. We're all unsubscribing from him. So, this is on purpose. They're doing it on purpose. And it's actually smart if you're talking about from a flat earth leaders kind of perspective, or what you want to call that. But yeah, and it gets scary because I've been telling people for years, don't engage with your family to a point where you start calling each other names, because I say what's going to happen is you're going to both dig your feet in. Once you've called somebody a moron and they've called you a retard, well, now both people are going to have a hard time ever admitting that they were wrong. So the sad part about that, as soon as I came out and made posts on Facebook, well, then all I got was a bunch of people in the flat earth to immediately jump into calling me names, which as soon as I saw it, I'm like, oh, great. Because again, once those people have done that, now that's an additional hurdle to realize you were wrong, right? So for me, I didn't do a lot of that. And I would say I didn't do a lot of it the last 5 years, which was calling people names, fighting with people, fighting with globers. I just didn't see the purpose of it. And I think that made it easier for me to leave, because there wasn't like I need to leave and then make an apology to these bunch of these people. Now there was some, Wolfie 6020, there was some people that I've had to apologize to, but Red's Rhetoric, some other people. But as far as it just made it easier for me. Now these people that have gone off and called me all these names, now in order for them to realize that the earth isn't flat, they're going to have to also accept the fact that what they've done to me is wrong, which is just an additional block that your brain puts there. Your brain is trying to protect you from trauma. And so the losing of flat earth, let's think you're a flat earther. You've probably already pissed off your family. You've lost a few friends. You may have lost a job. You're not making as much money. So all that's the case. And then on top of that, you now have this fringe belief. So you maybe found some new friends in the community. That's where you feel good, is with other flat earthers. So it's just a very difficult position to get out of. Once you're at that point, your brain is protecting you from the trauma that's going to come with realizing it's not flat, which is going to include realizing that the friends that you lost was for the wrong reason. The family you pissed off was for the wrong reason. They were right. The person you called a retard is actually not. You're the retard. So there's a lot of things that makes it easier for that person to just, what's your brain's option is, that's the one thing. The other thing is Jaren's lying, right? So which one's easier? Same thing with your movie. Either you're a shill, or you're misrepresenting, or you're straw manning, or they're wrong and they have to go and say all these sorries, and they have to go and change their mode of thinking again. So it doesn't really surprise me. I did think more people, because it's a truth movement, I thought more people were interested in actually the truth, but I can tell that some of them are they're interested in their truth. Right, they've already made the choice that the Earth is flat, and so they say the Earth cannot be a sphere. Well, we know it's not a sphere. Well, if that's your first line out of your mouth, then yeah, you're gonna have a hard time realizing that the Earth's a sphere because you just started your whole premise with it's not. So these are just things that are easy to see from the outside looking in now. And the cult-like behaviors and the way that they've gone after me is the same way that they do it in a gang, right? So when you leave a gang, they jump you, because this keeps the other gang members from wanting to leave. And if they think about leaving, they're like, oh shit, remember when so-and-so got jumped and how bad he got? So it's the same thing. So if they see what's happened to me, then they're like, well, there's no benefit to leaving. And of course, all the reasons that they give are just BS anyway. My views have gone to like half. I used to have a VIP group that's gone to about 25% of what it was. And yet people are still going around saying he did it for the money. He did it for, it's like, what are you talking about? It absolutely destroyed my channel and probably permanently. So that's something that just has to go with telling the truth. So I thought that more people would be respectful of that, understand that, accept that. But I didn't really recognize the psyche of the brain of a flat earther until I got out and was able to look back at myself and see the things that I did wrong, and the way that I thought, and the way that I constructed beliefs, and the way that I researched. When you are a flat earther and you're doing research, you basically can read a whole book about the globe, and you'll find that one line in there that has something that maybe sounds a little flat earthish, and you'll run with that. But all that you just read, you just got done reading a whole book about the globe. You don't even think about any of that. It's almost like your brain just like, nope, not reading that. Or you'll go to a book and you'll search a certain term, like flat earth or plane or level, or just to find places in that book that says that. So it is the ultimate cherry picking, and it's ultimately a biased approach. And I think that if you really went looking for anything, you could find it, right? So if you want to prove that something's wrong with some type of food, or you could look on the internet enough, you'll find somebody saying it. It doesn't make it true, right?